We got an update with the Clarity Act on Capitol Hill. Apparently, the new text is causing a yelling match between crypto exchanges, fintechs, and venture firms, calling the text unworkable. So we're going to get into what all of this means for the Clarity Act. Is this going to get passed? Is it not? We also have a brand new interview with Paul Atkins and Crypto in America, and there's a lot of really cool things said here. It's really going to show you and paint the picture of what crypto is going to look like here in America over the next few years. And we also, at the end here, we're going to get into what caused this long token bear market. There's so much stuff to go over with you, and I'm going to bring it to you hot and fresh. So let's get into it. I'll give you everything I have over the next 15 minutes. Crypto leaders are split over stablecoin yield bill as industry backlash builds. Crypto policy leaders are split over the new legislative text that would ban companies from paying their customers yield on passive stablecoin balances, but allow activity-based rewards. An industry conference call on Tuesday descended into a yelling match between representatives from crypto exchanges, fintechs, and venture capital firms over the text, with some calling it unworkable and others defending it. Two sources familiar with the proceedings told Crypto in America. Meanwhile, crypto's real-time sentiment gauge, Crypto Twitter, was alight with criticism that Senate lawmakers had sold out banks and that industry adoption could take a major hit as a result. Illustrating the point, Circle stock fell 20%, since some analysts tying the drop in part to backlash over the proceedings yield ban, alongside news that the rival Tether had hired a major U.S. accounting firm to do audits and on its reserves. Coinbase shares closed down 10% on Tuesday. You know, this is what I thought as well, but there was something else going on with Circle yesterday too that might have caused the dip. We talked about that in yesterday's live stream. I'm not going to get into that too much here because I'm going to get distracted. The panic was largely sparked by new details that emerged after a small group of industry leaders were invited to Capitol Hill on Monday to review the text. The draft legislation was a product of nearly 2 months of negotiations between the White House, the Senate Banking Committee members, and the industry and bank stakeholders over how crypto companies could offer yield and rewards to customers on their stablecoin holdings without triggering deposit flight from banks. According to the attendees interviewed by Crypto in America, the Monday meetings were held in a 30-minute increments, and participants were given copies of the text to review and take notes, but not to keep. They don't want this out in the open, right? They want to keep this under wraps, which I guess I can understand when the public finds out and we go and pick through it. Obviously, there could be more issues that maybe are not being brought up, right? They just kind of want to hurry this along. On its face, the proposal would ban platforms from offering yield directly or indirectly on stablecoins. The law would apply broadly to digital asset firms and bar anything economically or functionally equivalent to interest. Activity-based rewards like loyalty or promotional programs would still be permitted, and regulators would be tasked with defining permissible incentives and anti-evasion rules within 1 year. Reactions began trickling out on Monday, with one major trade association telling Crypto in America that the new language was restrictive for crypto and marked a departure from what had been discussed in the White House in prior meetings. Another trade group said that the text appeared largely in line with expectations and that it struck a balance between preserving rewards and barring interest-like stablecoin products. And here's the quote: "This is the best possible result," they said, noting that the text appeared broader than the original proposal floated by Senator Thom Tillis and Angela Also Brooks. People will still get their rewards. Banking industry representatives traveled to Capitol Hill to review the text on Tuesday afternoon, and one attendee told Crypto in America that while reactions are still forming, the language appears reflective of the compromise that Tillis and Also Brooks and the White House set to achieve. While the Senate Banking Committee has only shared the text with a select few, two industry sources expect it could be released as early as Wednesday. So it could be released today. If I get the text, guys, I will make that video right away and bring it to you. You will know when it happens. We will do it as quickly and efficiently as I can. We also heard from Sander Lutz here. Sander Lutz says lots of crypto side worry right now over the proposed stablecoin yield compromise on market structure, but the new language would allow for yield or staked stablecoins. Two sources tell me a potentially significant win for crypto. Staking could be an easy passive way for crypto users to earn yield on their stablecoins. The real question becomes whether such an allowance would trigger outage from the banking lobby, which might view staking rewards as too much of a threat for their business. Banking is reviewing the compromise language today, on Capitol Hill, the banking industry would be crazy to accept any sort of compromise. Another source who has been closely following the negotiations told me. So what does this mean? This basically means if you're holding a stable coin on, let's say, Uphold or Coinbase or whatever, and they're giving you 3% just for like leaving it on there, you're not going to be able to do that anymore. In fact, you would have to take it a step further. You would have to sign something, stake the like USDC or whatever the stable coin is. You stake it for a period of time, and that's how you would get your reward. It's not the end of the world. Obviously, you would need to lock it up and things like that, and you need to take a look and see, should I be locking this up for this period of time? What happens if I need it? You got to do all of that research, but there's still this is a compromise. But banks, this is really almost the same thing. Yes, leaving it idle is a whole lot easier to get yield than having to do an extra step with it, but it's not the end of the world here for the crypto companies. I do think the banks will fight back on this. I don't think this is over. All right, and then so let's shift gears here. Let me know what you guys think, right? Are they going to get this done? There's 7 months to midterms. There are about 3 months only of working capital here for the senators and Congress people. Remember, even if they pass it through the Senate, it has to go back to the House to get reapproved because they changed so many things in the Senate. And then it would head to the president's desk once all of those things would happen. It comes out of the GOP, the banking committee, the full Senate votes to pass it. Then the House would pass it again, and then the president would sign it. That's all would need to happen right in April, right after Easter recess, because they are running out of time. They have so many other things that they need to vote on and work on, and this has taken up months, right? And they do need to move this forward. All right, shift gears here. This is Paul Atkins on digital assets and crypto in America. Let's get it.
The internet got started. I'm not sure people thought about all the things that now we take completely for granted in that. And I think the same will be true with digital assets. It's just a natural evolution of products in the marketplace, and people are looking for more efficient ways to do old tasks. And who knows, with artificial intelligence and whatnot going on, it's real upswing now. We've always had artificial intelligence ever since the abacus and whatever helped people to do repetitive tasks and that sort of thing. And so that's really where that sort of that programming and that sort of product really helps people. But you never know what it's going to grow into. And so I think the sky's the limit, which is great. And I think it's for us optimists and in the world, I think this is a really heady time.
Just want to thank you guys for supporting the content. I know a lot of you start watching and you hit like right away. If you made it to this point, please hit like. It does help the algorithm on YouTube, and it would mean the world to me. Let's keep going here. There's another clip. SEC chair confirms tokenized settlement is live, says NASDAQ DTCC plan is really a good beginning. Remember, the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, the DTCC is all moving forward with their plans to tokenize their securities. And so that is, about $200 trillion, give or take, maybe a little bit less. Wait, it was 100 trillion of DTCC, 60 trillion. It's about 160 trillion.
Trades in tokenized form. I think that was a big move forward to, modernizing that system, as you say, and really bringing blockchain technology and digital assets really into the U.S. public equities markets for the first time. Do you kind of see this as the beginning of a broader shift to that on-chain market tokenization push that you've been talking about? And is it kind of what we're going to see with the emerging of the planned tokenization exemptions is sort of down the path that you guys have sort of been teasing these last couple months, that maybe narrower innovation exemption that we might see out of the SEC imminently?
Yeah, all of that is correct. And the NASDAQ DTCC project is rather limited. And, it's basically, the investor has an option to check a box basically and opt into tokenized settlement through DTCC and payment, or whichever side of buyer, seller, whatever the particular market participant is in for that trade. So that's a really good beginning. And, at the beginning of things, especially with traditional finance, people are taking baby steps just to see, well, what is the result? How, are there any unanticipated aspects about it that we really need to think about and then control before we, just open everything up to it. So I think that's logical and well done. And obviously we at the SEC are supporting that. And so want to see that sort of experimentation continue.
It's got to start somewhere, and we are there, right? We are at the beginning of hopefully the end of the old system. Now, the new SEC chair confirmed that he's spoken to Gary Gensler, and his message, it's a new day. I love it.
Relationship with the former SEC chair. Have you had any conversations with Gary Gensler about his time in the SEC and how he handled everything?
Well, I've spoken to him, and so but it's now a new day as well, and we are these things we're kind of breaking with tradition in a way, and we are trying to be upfront about things, and it has been a big shift in the SEC's approach to things, so we want to make things much more clear. Clarity. We're the Clarity Act on the Hill. We're looking forward to that being enacted in whatever form it comes out. So we're happy to work with whatever Congress and the president come up with. So, a lot of these things are just, these are new novel issues for the SEC to confront. But we've rolled up our sleeves and, we definitely want to confront them and push them forward.
It's a new day. Isn't that like a Spider-Man movie or something? I think it is. All right. SEC Chair Paul Atkins says the sky is the limit for crypto, declares digital assets will follow the same path as the internet. Ooh, I like to hear this.
Chairman Atkins, when we have you back on, because you're going to come back on next year in 2027, what will you say is the SEC's most significant move in crypto in 2026? Like, what are you really trying to get home?
Well, I'm hoping that, we get all of our work finished here as far as, laying the foundation for further, expansion of the digital asset markets and for crypto assets in general, that there will be, broad acceptance of those sorts of products, and that, the entrepreneurship will just continue to develop and build new things that people want and can use and find, helpful for efficiency in their own lives. So that's kind of the dream. When the internet got started, I'm not sure people thought about all the things that now we take completely for granted in that. And I think the same will be true with digital assets. It's just a natural evolution of products in the marketplace, and people are looking for more efficient ways to do old tasks. And who knows, with artificial intelligence and whatnot going on, its real upswing now. I mean, we've always had artificial intelligence ever since the abacus and whatever helped people to do repetitive tasks and that sort of thing. And so that's really where that sort of that programming and that sort of product really helps people. But you never know what it's going to grow into. And so I think the sky's the limit, which is great. I think it's, for us optimists in the world, I think this is a really heady time.
I love hearing the top regulator in the country saying the sky's the limit for this industry and where we're going. And it fills my heart with joy, because when I look at this guy, I remember, like, that is why I have gray hair. Gary Gensler caused all of the gray hair that I have. It was going so well, right? I had a full head of hair, no gray in sight. Gary Gensler comes into my life and boom, it's almost all gray now. All right, I'm being dramatic. Sorry, it's early in the morning and it comes out. Here's Gary Gensler.
I want to shift gears a little bit here and get your thoughts on what we're seeing in the crypto market. Galaxy last week basically flagged that this is, quote, the end of the Gensler era, that with the digital asset taxonomy moves that have been made here. We've had reports just in the last couple of weeks that one of the biggest buyers now in the treasury markets are stablecoin holders like Tether. How do you see this moment?
Well, Mike Novogratz, who runs Galaxy, and I were at Goldman Sachs together many years ago, and Mike's got a good and closer sense of this than I do. I do have some concerns about what, with interest being paid on these new forms of money, stable coins, does it undermine the banking system? And that's something that Congress is sorting through now, really. Do they want to destabilize the banking system by allowing the interest to continue to be paid on these so-called stable coins?
Oh, so we know if Gary Gensler was still in his seat there, he would be doing everything to make sure that stable coins and crypto would not make it this far. So good to know. Good to know that the Trump administration made a good choice getting rid of him as quickly as possible. I got to say, Paul Atkins, great choice.
We interface with financial institutions all over planet Earth. We were early and aggressive. I mentioned we just started experimenting in blockchain. We began to understand that maybe there's a number of different blockchains that are going to be winners here. Blockchains are technologies. They'll continue to iterate. In the information-based economy, we think of these as just utility rails and pipes for the information-based economy. So we want to be on as many of those ecosystems as we can, because that's where we're going to find customers eventually. And so, it's not one winner takes all. In our environment, we think of these as kind of digital nation states. They have their own economies. They're aggressive in pursuing and growing their own economies. We want to grow with their economies alongside of them, whatever we may decide to bring as a securities related product or service on top of those rails. And so that's kind of where our journey actually permeates across a number of different blockchains. I think we may be on either 10 or 11 blockchains currently with our products and services.
Love that. All right, here we go. BlackRock, the winners in the next 12 months will have these big characteristics.
I think the winners in the next 12 months will have three big characteristics. One is that they lean into open architecture and that they don't view like creating a infrastructure that works in a silo is a product. Infrastructure that works across an ecosystem is a market. So infrastructure providers that can work across an ecosystem will win. Putting resilience, volatility mechanisms, and safeguards like front and center of a strategy will win. Anybody who doesn't have that will get wiped out in these stress events, which will inevitably occur. And then I think lastly, it is really designing around the investor experience. That's why ETFs scaled to, $14 trillion. They, put investors at the center. And while ETF arbitrage encouraged investment by a trading ecosystem, ultimately the gains accrued to investors. And that's why ETFs as a technology scaled. The same is going to be true in tokenization.
All right, one more clip that I got for you guys, and then I can let you go for this one. Here it is. So what was the cause for this long-term bear market? Reason number one, high entry valuations. Only now in 2026 are we getting something that seems like a reasonable entry multiple for the space, sub 20x.
So what caused this long token bear market? Reason number one, high entry valuations. This is a standard price to sales index for application tokens on blockchains. Again, the same basket we're looking at, but across the entire sector. This has over 500 companies in there. The average price to sales multiple, when the peak of the software bubble was at 100 times sales, the very peak, we were at 900 times sales. And when software re-rated down to 10 to 20 quickly, we took years between 100 and 200 times sales in the industry. We are only now in 2026, for the first time, getting to something that seems like a reasonable entry multiple for the space at sub 20 times.
Sounds like it's a good time to be building your bags in the crypto market. That's kind of what I got from that. All right, make sure that you are following, you're subscribed to the channel. We have a link down in the description for Cryptonaires. It's my community. It's open for free right now. Come on in. We have hundreds of people that just joined over the last few weeks. I'm sharing all kinds of stuff in there constantly. It's an honor to spend this time with you every day. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next one. I'm Crypto Sensei. Aloha.